Hey everyone, I hope you guys are all having a great day today. We're going to be talking about two specific topics. The first one is just watching a CNBC video where they talk to one of the commissioners at the SEC about all of the bad things that have been going on over there as they've tried to attack crypto. They keep on losing and losing and losing. And the second thing here is we've been seeing a lot of discussions by Fox Business, CNBC, Yahoo, Bloomberg, all of them about rates, specifically the 5-year. If you guys were watching the Jerome Powell speech a few days ago, they had that plastered on the screen no matter which network you were looking at to see if it was going to break above that 5% level. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit and just the correlation that we're going to be looking for between that and the rest of the overall market, crypto even included in that as well. All right. So let's get started here. I'm not going to talk too much. This video is technically 8 minutes long, but I'm just going to stop it when I feel like we've actually reached the main point of what I wanted to talk about, okay?
Next guest, outspoken critic of some of her own agency's initiatives, join us to talk about crypto regulation, debates over ESG, and so much more. SEC Commissioner Hester Peirce. She is one of 2 Republicans among the 5 SEC commissioners. Good morning to you. Love to get your sense of where you think the state of some of these regulations around crypto really stand right now. There's been so much speculation, even in the past several weeks, about where a Bitcoin ETF might land. There was a moment, as you I'm sure recall, where a report came out erroneously, apparently, that one would be approved. That would be the BlackRock one. But a view that, given some of the things that have happened in court recently with the SEC losing, that maybe the SEC is now more open to approving one of these types of funds. Is it?
Well, good morning, Andrew. And I can't say whether or not the commission is ready to approve a Bitcoin exchange traded product. I've been thinking we should approve one for the last 5 years. So that the logic for why we haven't has always mystified me. The court case obviously is an important factor in the landscape, but I can't guess as to my colleagues' approach to this topic.
But the reason I ask is there's a sort of a speculative fever taking place throughout Wall Street and other parts of the crypto world that believe that given those court results or those losses, if you will, or specifically
huge
one
losses,
that it would change the thinking of the other commissioners at the SEC. You spend time with them, you talk to them. Do you see any shift in terms of that type of thinking, just even generally speaking?
I really can't speak to what we're going to do on the Bitcoin exchange traded products. I can say that generally the agency has not been very good when it comes to anything related to Bitcoin or other crypto assets. And look, I hope that every day I hope that they'll wake up and they'll think, you know what, we need to take a more productive approach. That hasn't happened yet, but I'm, of course, hoping that it will.
But it should.
Okay, take a quick pause right here, then we'll watch the rest of it. This is kind of concluding one little part of their interview here. So basically, this is a Republican on the commissioner's board, okay? So you already know she's going to be a little bit more pro-Bitcoin than somebody maybe like on the Elizabeth Warren side who just despises Bitcoin. And you can see that kind of aisle right there where they're just lawsuit, lawsuit, lawsuit. But along with each lawsuit comes loss, loss, loss. And that's going to be a problem for them going forward because if they keep on losing, the courts are just going to, it's just going to make it harder and harder for them when they really have a big case up because their track record is so bad. And remember, as taxpayers, we are paying for the SEC and they are not doing a good job. So let's keep watching.
I guess the question is, should the public take anything away from the fact that a BlackRock or a Fidelity or somebody of that size, scale, perhaps reputation, is applying for these things, that somehow is validating this space in a way that perhaps maybe some of the smaller firms that had applied for such types of funds earlier did not?
Yes, they do validate Bitcoin.
Well,
they
I think
do.
It's a reflection of the fact that there are a lot of firms that think the public is interested in these kinds of products. Again, you know, people have to be careful about trying to read the tea leaves of what agencies are doing, and I'm not going to contribute to that. I'm just going to say that, you know, obviously we're seeing more and more interest from firms in these products, and I hear a lot of interest from investors in these kinds of products as well.
It's great.
What is the lesson? You know, we've all been watching this Sam Bankman-Fried trial that's taking place downtown around crypto, and we've watched now Coinbase has started to open up franchises and things in other countries and the like. Have you felt a shift in terms of the way Washington and your colleagues are thinking about crypto at all?
I mean, look, the events of last year were not positive for crypto's image, certainly. It's a good moment for all of us to sit down and think about how did we get to this place. And I think there's a lot of work the industry needs to do, and thinking about applying, traditional lessons from traditional finance that have been learned the hard way over the years, applying those in the crypto space. But there's also an opportunity for regulators to sort of think, what could we have done differently? And I think one thing we could have done differently is to craft a framework that provided people clear guidelines and made the United States the kind of place where crypto companies wanted to be registered and based. And that would have been very helpful for then distinguishing good actors from bad actors. We still have the opportunity to do that. I think there is a lot of interest on the congressional side to try to do something around crypto. Again, my agency has mostly focused on bringing enforcement actions, which is just not a really efficient way of bringing regulatory clarity to the space.
Has a point.
Do you have any sense that real legislation is going to be made? I mean, we've had a number of lawmakers come on the program, talk about legislation, this and that, but here we have a situation the House doesn't even have a speaker. And you think to yourself, we've talked for a decade about regulating, social media.
Don't expect them to pass legislation anytime soon. I mean, at this point, guys, it may not actually happen until after the next election, which means 2025, which sounds crazy, but they haven't been able to get their act together. And the one time they were close, a lot of that bill was actually influenced by Sam Bankman-Fried because he was just pouring all the money out them. And he was buying them off, basically, as politicians can easily be bought off. But he was buying them off with the people's money that actually had invested in, or just holding their money on FTX, right? Siphoned it out and paid politicians. It's a fucking nasty thing he did.
And all sorts of other things that no one, a lot of people talk about and then nothing ever really gets done. Do you have any reason to think that something will?
Well, I mean, I cautioned about reading regulatory tea leaves, and I'm careful about trying to read political tea leaves. But I would say that there is widening interest in trying to do something, and whether it's a broader bill or whether it's taking things piece by piece, I don't know, but I think there's clearly perceived to be a need to do something in this space, and I think that's really encouraging.
Has your view shifted at all? We have, by the way, on the screen, and I don't know if you can see it, we have Bitcoin, Ether, Solana, Ripple, and Dogecoin on the screen. I think there's been some shift in thought around what cryptocurrency really is, which ones matter, things like that. Have you sort of changed or shifted your views around that? Do you say to yourself, Bitcoin is one thing and that's in its own special camp, and maybe Ether's in another, and maybe these others are something else entirely?
Bitcoin versus altcoins, that's basically what he's asking.
I think different crypto assets have been developed and different blockchains have been developed for different purposes, and that's something.
She said that the keyword here, blockchains. Blockchains are going to be the most important thing. If they have an infrastructure, that's what the Wall Street individuals are going to be investing in. The infrastructure. When I tell you guys, I used to go to the Silicon Valley Bank, nice dinners that they had and stuff like that for investors and stuff like that. I got to go to those. I was very happy. They always talked about infrastructure. That's what the Madronas and the large hedge funds that want to buy into these types of companies at the ground level, they're looking for infrastructure.
Thing that people are doing a lot of experimentation with. So it's been interesting to me as a regulator, not a technologist, just to watch that experimentation, to watch different uses for the different blockchains emerge. And, look, the market is going to ultimately decide whether any or all of these stay around, and we'll see how that develops. It'll be fun to watch, but there are different uses for the different blockchains. But
do you think some of them are just pure speculation? And if they are, do you think that they should be regulated? Meaning, part of the issue has been that I think there's been some real great skepticism inside the SEC and elsewhere that some of these things may be real, but others may not be at all. And if they are not at all, maybe there's no reason to be even trying to regulate them, because by regulating them, to some degree, you're endorsing what it is.
Well, look, I think people speculate about lots of different things, and especially in low interest rate environments, people speculate about lots of things. it's not my job as a regulator to tell people what they can and can't purchase, and what they can and can't speculate about, right? Speculation is what makes our markets work. I encourage everyone to be skeptical about everything they're buying. And so, yeah, you should be asking, if you are interested in crypto and you're thinking of buying a crypto asset, you should be asking a lot of questions. You should be trying to figure out what the purpose of a particular crypto asset is, and that's fine. But the idea that by affording people a regulatory framework, we're providing a regulatory seal of approval is the wrong way to think about things. We at the SEC have a job to be disclosure regulators, and so if we're given the job to write disclosure regulations for crypto assets, that is not a seal of approval.
Okay. That was the video. I kind of wanted to actually listen to the rest of it because she was just hitting on some key points here that were just fantastic. Now, as far as what goes forward with cryptocurrency and regulation, it's anybody's guess, but I wanted to show you guys that video because at least you have an idea of what's in a Republican commissioner's head when it comes to the SEC. You guys will more likely know what's going on in a Democratic SEC person's head, just because that's been kind of the predominant theme so far when they've been going after crypto time after time after time. And unfortunately, they've been losing time after time after time because they're trying to, they kind of a little bit more loose with the laws in general as the party, just like Republicans try to be more stern, but really everybody tries to maneuver the best way that's for their view. So, everybody does it. So now we're going to be talking about rates here. This has been affecting a lot of stuff. You see Bitcoin popping. You see the market having a little bit of a rebound here as the 5-year rate has been coming down. So I just want to show you what's been happening with this over the last few weeks because everybody started screaming about it. And I just want you guys to understand kind of what happened. Now, if you guys ever want to check for this, it's just the USO 5Y, and that's just right here, the United States 5-year government bond yield. That's all we're looking at. I usually go with the one from TVC, but I think there's maybe one or two more out there, but I think that's just the one you guys should be looking at. So here we have the weekly chart, and you guys are going to see something pretty interesting. Breakout, fall back down to earth, and then we started taking off. And this goes back to that, I don't want to call it a theory, but that saying that I came up with a while ago. When something breaks out, it becomes much easier for it to break out again. Just like when it breaks down, it's much easier for it to break down again. And then you can see a lot of longs happening right here. And if you just hold on to those longs, you can see the rates go higher and higher and higher. So this was actually a breakout, even though it did come back down a little bit, okay? So this breakout started to raise alarm bells back over here in August. And if we go back over here to what we're looking at as far as the NASDAQ, right? July, doing just fine. August pulls around, and that's when we actually start to see the breakdowns occur, and we start to plummet down a little bit. Remember, over here is when all the CNBC people said you guys should be buying the dip. Well, technically they said it right here, but they usually give like a week, so I'm trying to give them some like wiggle room here. And then it worked out for a little bit, but they thought we would break out and continue going higher, and that's not what this chart says. Remember, this is a weekly chart, this is a daily chart. When something breaks out of this magnitude, it's been consolidating for so long, and I just want to show you guys this very fast. This has been consolidating for about 38 weeks or 268 days, okay? When something of that magnitude starts to break out, it will last a little bit longer than expected, all right? Now, you can see we're still making new lows here, and even if I push up the NASDAQ, and this is going to be the same for any stock out there, it doesn't matter. You can see we've had new lows over the past few weeks, had this low, and you've had this low, and even baby right there, we even have that low right there, okay? So we've been moving down more and more and more as we've seen this 5-year government rate go up higher and higher and higher. Even with the false death cross and a golden cross right afterwards, I know it seems like a lot, but this isn't really going off of, the same type of data the stock is going off. This is going off of, world events, higher inflation, government not being able to do its job, the possibility that we're not going to be able to do a budget bill. All that type of stuff goes into this. And if you guys haven't noticed, Congress still doesn't have a freaking speaker because the Republicans are fucking idiots right now. I mean, they had an opportunity with Jim Jordan, Steve Scalise. They might have one with Byron Donalds, like a whole bunch of other people right now. But my God, they are just fucking trash right now. And it is so sad to see how bad they are at just governing at this point. Because they suck. Matt Gaetz opened up a shitstorm. And he had a good reason for doing it, to be honest, but I don't think he foresaw this level of chaos because he didn't foreshadow this quite enough. But we'll have to wait and see, okay? Now, going back over here to the monthly chart, I mean, when you look at this from a monthly chart perspective, we've only just started to break out here. And
very good when it comes to anything related to Bitcoin or other crypto assets.
Let me see.
And look, I hope.
There we go. Sorry about that. That was something on Twitter. A snippet of actually the video I just showed with you a few seconds ago. Don't know why Twitter just played it though. Anyway, you see what's happening right here? See this? We're getting close. So everybody's hoping, all right, this is the bullish side of it, that sometime over the next 2 months, so it might not be clean, might not just be a straight shot here. Next few months, we're going to hit this level of resistance around 5.219%, almost 5.22, that we haven't reached since 07. You guys remember happened in 08. I'm not going to go into it. It was not a good time. All right. But they're hoping that rates will start to come down afterwards. And if that's the case, hopefully, since the economy is still kind of chugging along, that will give the NASDAQ, the SPY, Bitcoin, everything, a little bit more room to run up, where you might even see Bitcoin maybe going up to $35,000, $40,000. We'll have to wait and see. The amount of stimulus that's still in the economy is kind of great. And, as I was talking with a couple of friends over the past few days, the retail traders can always be counted on to just throw money at these type of events and try to make a buck, even if we're scaling out of our positions, right? I told you guys I was scaling out on Twitter last night, a couple times actually, and Bitcoin's even gone higher because I sell a little bit too early. It's just what I do, but that's why I scale out. So I'm selling here, selling there, selling higher. If we do manage to break out across this over the next few months, this is where things get a little bit more scary. And to make this all kind of fit, I'm just going to go to a 2-month chart. We normally don't do this, but I want to have everything in here. If we break out of here, we're going to levels we haven't seen back in 2000. 2000 wasn't a good time for stocks either, guys. So it seems like we may be heading for some type of large seismic bear market. That's like a historical one, like we saw in 2000, 2008, maybe now 2023. COVID is kind of its own little thing, right? 2020. But until that really happens, again, this is a 2-month chart. We got months and months and months to wait before things start going back down, right? I think it's important that we just keep this into perspective, that the rates being this high is not a good thing. But any time that we even see a little bit of the market coming back down, the market seems to love just buying that dip and going crazy with it. Another reason why I was messaging a couple of you guys last night on one of my other videos, hey, I expect this week to actually have a little bit of a rebound here going into some crazy earnings. And if you guys haven't watched my video about all the earnings coming out this week, go take a look at it. I'll make it an end screen thing here in a couple seconds, okay? So double check all of your positions. We're at resistance levels. I'm pretty much scaled out here. Honestly, I'm scaled out. Have maybe small, I got like 20% left in my positions here, but there's nothing that tells me that I really want to be buying more. If we break out, of course I will buy more, but I need to take my profits from stuff over here, because to be frank, I was kind of ticked off that it took so long to get here. I thought we might rebound back over here, maybe even go a little higher, but this took, from when I bought at that support level, this has taken 70 days. This is much longer than I thought it was going to take. But that's okay, right? That's okay. We're here to make money, and sometimes making money takes a little bit longer. One last thing here, guys, just before I finish this off. What's the easiest way for me to do this right here? High, low. See that one right there? That's when technically I tend to get out. We're going to go to a 4-hour chart, right? We managed to hold it, and now I'm breaking up on the higher side. That next level of resistance, if you really care, is 33,219. If you're looking for longer term things here, I would actually stay away from that type of 4-hour chart. I would go back to what we've been looking at over here. Long term. Just really long term. Back over here to 2021. And then we're getting really close to that one marker again. And that's why I'm just saying, hey, I feel like I need to be scaling out here. Bitcoin may go higher, but I can always open up another position. If we do manage to break out above this, the next one is 43,525. I don't think we're going to be heading there, but I think we have a good opportunity to kind of hit into this $37,000 range, which could be really fun. All right. So hope you guys all have a great rest of your day, and thank you so much for spending some time with me.